This video is equal parts warning and mixing tips. It's like a very common mixing tip that I highly recommend you try and probably do, and most times you mix a song. But if you get it wrong, it actually like just destroys what you're trying to create and causes an audible, ugly distortion, the kind of distortion you don't want. And I'm laughing because I'm remembering doing this so long ago. And it's so simple, but it's so easy to miss if you're not experienced yet. That's not a problem. It's just a reality that some of us are learning. And I mean, we're all still learning, I think. If you are not super experienced with understanding what's going on when you're looking at a Pro Tools session or a mixing session in general, any DAW, it doesn't matter what DAW for this video at all, you could bite yourself in the butt with this one. All right, hello and welcome. I am Malcolm Owen-Flood. I teach audio stuff here on YouTube. So if you like that sort of thing, please do subscribe. And I'm going to show you the tip first and then the mistake, I think. Yeah, we'll do it that way. So this is my main mix bus here. And as you can see, there's automation going on. That's what these lines are. If you're not familiar, this line represents the volume of that track. And the mix bus is the final track. It's where all of the things are sent. It's almost the final track, actually. But all of the individual tracks of the song are sent to this. And that should be a straight line if you haven't done anything. It would look like this over here. But as you can see, we have some automation, meaning that we have changed it for certain times. And when it gets to those parts of the songs, it will jump up to accommodate this change that we have written into it. So in the case of here, we are starting at 0 dB. You can see that on the left right here. And then if I click right here, we've jumped up a dB 0.3. So it gets audibly louder for that section of the song. Scroll ahead. Let's look at here, 0 to 1.3 again. 0 down to negative 0.8, so almost a dB down, up to 1.6, and a little bit more to 1.8 there. So, I mean, from negative 8 to 1.6, we've almost jumped 2 full dB, so that's a very noticeable jump there. I mean, noticeable in this grand scheme of things, it's not that dramatic. So let's just have a look at what that sounds like. Here we go.
I've got the drugs. I've got your drugs.
So it's like the normal volume of the song, and then that drum fill's just slightly ducked, like imperceptibly ducked. But by doing that, we're creating a more explosive entrance when we jump back in.
I've got the drugs. I've got your drugs.
Now, that's very common. A lot of mixers I know do that, and I do this pretty often as well. If I feel like I need to just make certain parts of the song, I go through and I craft volume automation on my mix bus. But here's what you need to know, is that it's not purely just louder. And this isn't the mistake either. That's coming. The fatal mistake is coming. This is just kind of understanding what's going on so actually you can get what you want. Because like that doesn't sound that much louder to me. It doesn't sound 2 dB louder, that's for sure. And that's because we're not just turning it up. We are turning it up, but we are hitting our ceiling. So in the case of how this is set up, that volume boost is running all of our audio, which is spiking up, hitting our limiter, further into our limiter. So it's still peaking at the same volume. It's just getting crushed into it more. Now, it still is perceived as louder because we have a more LUFS value. It's denser. The dynamic range of the song has been kind of consolidated at that moment because we have pushed the overall volume into our limiter, which is squeezing it down, and overall it's louder. But it's not like the equivalent of what you do. It's not like the whole thing just overall stays unchanged and gets louder. It's just condensed into a more dense mix, essentially. So I hope that makes sense. Now, that's how you should do it. That is how it should work. Because if you don't do that, and you do this, and you go down to your master bus, which is after all of our mix bus processing, this is just the final thing. And I boost it here. Let's just go right here, crank it up to plus 12, all automating the mix so that this isn't so loud, but you'll hear the audio quality change here. That's obviously not just louder, that is destroyed and distorted in a very terrible, crappy way. So we'll turn it down a little bit more. Let's try just plus 6, still big boost. Really bad. Let's try just plus 2, which is approximately what we had gotten our mix bus automation to do on our mix bus. So we're doing it down here now, and it should probably still sound pretty terrible. yeah, I mean, it's less noticeable than the two extreme examples, but there's distortion happening that's not meant to be there. And you can even see Pro Tools is telling me on the meters up here, we got the red light, we're clipping. And you can see it happens right at that moment. If I clear out the clipping indicators and click play, we're destroying our mix by accident. And I literally did that once and sent it to a client. I can't believe it. We all make mistakes. But yeah, you know, like I said, when you're getting started, you see or hear about a concept like automating your master bus or your mix bus, and you do it. And you maybe don't think through what's actually happening. So that's why we described it earlier. You're running it into your limiter. That's the important part, because your limiter is saving your butt. Running it louder from this volume fader or automation line into your limiter is just meaning that it's getting crunched into the limiter, should still sound pretty good. And, you know, that can also cause distortion, but it's, you know, you're already hitting a limiter. It's natural. Where skipping the limiter, you're now just hitting your converters. You are hitting beyond the range of what your converters can handle, and you are causing really unpleasant distortion. So you have to be careful where you do this. So in my case, I set it up like this, where I have my mains, which is my mix bus. You can just call that the mix bus for right now. It's often also called a 2 bus. And then I have a master bus down here. So it's my mix bus into my master bus and then out through my mains, which is just monitored through this here. So really, it's this track into this track where my limiter lives. So that lets me, just on my mix bus here, automate my volume without any risk of causing distortion, because I know that the limiter at the end of this chain here is going to save my butt and protect from any overages. So it's kind of confusing, but I think that really illustrates why you have to be careful when you hear about a mixing concept and just go for it. Because I sent off a pretty ugly mix and I got called out for it. But thankfully they called me out for it and we didn't release it. Like, you do stupid stuff, but you convince yourself that, hey, I heard that a pro did this. It's meant to be done this way. So maybe question the information you get on the internet from people like me. Hope you enjoyed this. Try automating your mix bus. It can be the best thing. Sometimes it just doesn't seem very needed, but sometimes it's like exactly the final 10% you need to get that mix across the line. Some dynamics, added dynamics. It's so cool. And I mean, I've got another video on how you can automate things like crazy that probably came out just a week ago or something. So check that out as well. And we'll see you in the next one, which is coming up right here and here. And there is a free mixing workshop down in the description of this video as well. Okay, end of the day for me. I need coffee or sleep, one of the two. Bye.